Jan Tromp, a South African farmer, has signed over his farm and fields to his son. He's migrated to the Congo to chance his luck there. His hopes for South Africa have disappeared. Sari and Frans Cronje feel the same, and they want to follow in the footsteps of their friend as soon as they can. The Tromps show their friends photographs of their new home.
In South Africa, we are also not political stable. It's a new government with these people taking over come from a communist, socialist. They got their education in a communist atmosphere. So they are starting to then change things in South Africa, which is also not stable.
Many farmers think the same. They've had a tough time. 7 years of drought has ruined some farmers. It's been a long time since trains last travelled through here. In Frans Cronje's factory, the machines will only be running for a few more weeks. He wants to go to the Congo. Both his children are grown up, and the promised 400 hectares of land with a house appeals to him. He used to have land, but he had to give it up.
Stay in the country and be bankrupt. There's no future for farming in this country.
We're together, and there's more time for us for things we can't do here, and we can do there. So I want to go there.
The container is already on its way. The bags are almost packed. Their house has been on the market for a year, but there haven't been any nibbles, so the factory and the machines remain unsold. The Cronjes keep postponing their departure date, but Frans has visited the Congo many times to check it out. He's already found a house, and the fields are ready. The last resort. Everything has to be auctioned off to get together the necessary cash for the move. His neighbours take whatever's a good bargain, but nobody's interested in the larger items. The house, the factory, some workbenches. He'll have to leave South Africa without a tractor and car. There's not enough money to ship them.
Frans, are you happy about the sale?
No, not at all.
Why?
There's no money.
Did you sell your house and
No. Business, no, I didn't sell it.
so what will you do?
I rent it out.
Will you have enough money to start over there?
I hope so.
And what is the most disappointing in the sale for you?
Everything has been given away. It's not sold.
1,250 en 1,250 is helemaal klaar op 1,250.
Finally, the longed-for day. Their arrival in the Congo. Frans and Sari Cronje are picked up by their neighbours. It's another 1 hour's drive to Sokoton, their new home. This used to be a communist agricultural cooperative, before communism gave way to capitalism. The white South African farmers don't have enough capital to get everything going immediately. But the Congolese government has put the land at their disposal, including a small amount of startup capital. The first church service in their new home. Not everyone has come. 4 families have already left and gone back to South Africa. Some have fallen out with each other. Others have moved on to other areas. The South African Farmers Organisation, which has enticed most of the farmers here and made them pay a contribution, has more or less let them down.
Niemand het geantwoord nie. Hoe hulle ook al verwag vir die bladsye wat jy net ons gemaak het, kom ons sing die 2. Dis 'n lekker opbreide vroulike liedjie, ons mag dit vir die Here sing.
South African farmers here have been having problems with the local population since the beginning of the year. The blacks have gone on strike and the harvest lies uncollected. The Congolese say the South African whites are racists, pay too little and take away their lands. Previously, they all had jobs. Now, only a few are employed. The atmosphere amongst the Boers is bad, and no one knows how things will develop. Frans Cronje in front of his new house. It's still not renovated, and perhaps it never will be. If the blacks don't want them, then he doesn't want to be here. He thinks about moving on.
I've got no problem with it. They've got a problem with us because they're trying to kill us. Not kill us officially, but to kill the project. Which happened. That's why there's nobody that's got the know-how to do this stuff here.
Good advice would be welcome. The Boer farmer didn't imagine his life like this in the Congo. Wilhelmine and Prop Olivier are the Cronjes' neighbours. They came here with their young family over a year ago. Now they want to leave. Not back to South Africa, but somewhere else in the Congo. They want to try their luck alone and don't want to live with other Boers. They're thinking about Pointe-Noire, a port city with the necessary infrastructure. The children need schools close by, and 6-year-old Tian needs a doctor.
I think people came here for different reasons. Either making money fast, which is not happening, or maybe a better future, or better farming possibilities. I think everyone has their own reasons for coming here. But I honestly hope it wasn't to make a little white country in the midst of a black country. That wouldn't be fair to the Congolese.
For families with children, it's particularly difficult. Wilhelmine teaches her daughter. For 15 years, she taught ballet to children in South Africa. It's not possible for her to earn any extra money here. Her husband was behind the move to the Congo. A qualified welder, he always wanted to have a farm and be a farmer like his grandfather. In South Africa, he couldn't afford it. And it looks like the same thing is going to happen in the Congo.
From the body language and attitude, you can see that they're really teasing you, and it makes one feel uncomfortable. It makes one sad. The kids aren't really, I would call it, safe anymore, because the little Congolese children are throwing stones at them and ripping them off their bicycles and bumping them over and things like that.
There's no school for whites anywhere in the region, and none for Afrikaans speakers, the language of the Boers. Wilhelmine teaches the children as well as she can. But books have to be sent from South Africa, and it's particularly difficult with the small one, who demands all her attention. "11-year-old Siska doesn't have many friends, but she doesn't complain much.
I miss my friends much because In the books, they say work with your friend. I never will go back to South Africa. I will stay in the Congo.
Because of the drought that we had in December and January, it was the worst drought in 50 years that they had in the Congo. And also because of the stealing. But I don't know if it is because of the drought that they start to steal the fish or what. That's why I closed the dams down.
That's it. Even between the whites on the farm, they don't like the idea of my white daughter playing with a Congolese girl, and I see nothing wrong with it. So lots of little things that seems to break the project.
The local youngsters often show their displeasure over the new settlers. They take their wood from directly in front of the South Africans' houses, despite the fact there's enough elsewhere in the area.
Non. Eux, ils savaient qu'ils n'ont pas d'argent, mais qu'est-ce qui les avait poussés de venir ici là? Alors, ils savaient qu'ils n'ont rien, il fallait rester. La fois passée, là, on avait une personne là, au nom de Sapi. Sapi avait tout. Et c'était une personne, alors eux, si on peut compter, ils sont au nom même de 6 ou 7. Ils ne peuvent pas s'organiser et puis faire que non, vraiment ici nous allons faire ceci, nous allons faire cela. Jamais. Alors donc c'est là, on a vu que non, ils sont venus, ce n'est que toujours seulement pour maltraiter les gens. Donc vraiment, le temps vraiment ça reste un peu, puis ils vont partir pour eux. Vraiment.
Se placer devant nous et puis parler.
Non, elles ne savent pas français.
Mais non, c'est pas le fait.
Il y a de ceux qui parlent un peu français.
Ils ne veulent pas enseigner aux autres.
The next day, there's no water in the South Africans' houses. 150 meters of cable was stolen during the night. It was the cable from the pump to the water reservoir.
We tried to be friendly and helpful to them, and then they come and steal the cable. Before we had problems with cables and the pump. They even tried to steal the pump.
Jan Tromps had enough. He's going to see the village chief. There's been too many burglaries and too many thefts. With the help of the village elders, the problem should be solved. He's never sat down and eaten at a table with black people before. But if he wants to stay in the Congo, that will have to change. But additional problems will keep arising, ones he wasn't aware of.
This land isn't belonging to the government. They are the owners of the land. I have to make agreements with them. I'm not prepared to make agreements with them because then we will have trouble for even many years to come.
There are already enough difficulties for the South Africans. The settlement is far from a commercial centre, and the 150 metres of electric cable needed can only be found in the city. A water supply from the river is the only solution. In an emergency, the Boers still stick together. They rotate, collecting water for themselves and their neighbours. After 4 days, they find a cable that's long enough. Every evening, it's rolled up and locked up. It's the only way to secure their water supply. The settlement of Sokoton lies halfway between Brazzaville, the capital, and the port city of Pont-Noir. There are no decent road connections between the two cities. Humidity is high and the heat overwhelming. In just a few days, a track can become completely overgrown. The villagers hack their way through the bush. They grow sugarcane, manioc, and peanuts, but only enough for their own needs. They're too poor to buy machinery, and even during the French colonial era, the Congolese were never farmers. That's why the current government have tried to attract experienced farmers, who with their know-how will bring the land into full production. But it will take a long time with the South Africans, if they stay, and that's if the local population allows them.
C'est des sociétés qui nous manquent. S'il y avait des sociétés, par exemple, si nous parlons de la colonie sud-africaine, lorsqu'ils sont arrivés, s'ils avaient fait des sociétés sincères, comme quoi ils devaient recruter nos jeunes, bon, non, il n'y aurait pas de la pagaille. Mais eux, ils sont venus, chacun pour soi. L'autre là, il prend 2 personnes, 5 personnes. L'autre 5 personnes, donc 10 personnes, ça ne suffit pas parce que nous avons beaucoup d'enfants. Il y a beaucoup de nos enfants qui traînent, qui n'ont pas de travaux.
And that annoys the locals. The South Africans work the land with their tractors, alongside locals who are forced to walk a long way to bring in their harvest.
Depuis la création, l'arrivée de nos camarades sud-africains, vraiment, ils ne fournissent pas de boulot. Voilà ce qui nous embête. Si on avait du boulot, bon, tel que moi là que vous parlez, je suis gosse. Hein? Mais il me manque de boulot. Comme ça là, travailler à la main, c'est difficile pour nous. Hein?
Everyone was expecting some kind of miracle from the farmers. David Ngwimdi has 6 children to bring up. But without work, it's difficult. He worked for a short time for the South African farmers until he was no longer needed. The soil is fertile and there's hardly any malnourishment, but no one here has any money. David used to earn about 10 rand a day, not enough for his family to live on. He wants his son to do well in school, so his life will be better than his father's. The village of 3,000 people is full of presses for raw sugarcane. The juice is poured into bottles and after fermentation is sold as a potent drink. Business is good. Because they don't have any work, the villagers simply hang around. The younger ones can no longer expect to work the land like their fathers. Their only hope lies in the big cities of Brazzaville and Pont-Noir. The South African Farmers Organisation and their local workers promised that 7,000 hectares would be cultivated, as much as was farmed in communist times. The villagers don't understand that some farmers have divided the land between them, without any of them being the boss of the other. Maize is pounded to make an alcoholic drink. This is the local bar. Even the village chief drops in for a glass from time to time. There's big disappointment on both sides. The South African Farmers Organisation has let the farmers down. They don't speak French, and there's a lack of translators. The land rights belong to no one, and the villagers steal and quarrel. The last hope of the newly arrived farmers is the politician responsible for the region.
Yes, each day we try to do our better, and I think that will be good in the future.
I'm not sure. I think that's a number.
Okay.
Just phone him. Tell him we're meeting here, please.
Bon, je pense qu'il faut noter aussi que la société pour laquelle ils sont venus n'a réellement pas démarré les travaux. Et c'est pour nous une difficulté parce que pendant le temps qu'on finalise les papiers, nous avons dans les bras les fermiers sud-africains. Et c'est ce qui a d'ailleurs amené le gouvernement à s'investir personnellement pour essayer de donner des moyens de vivre à ces Sud-Africains. Mais nous sommes en train de réfléchir sur une solution qui devrait arrêter cette sorte d'errance pour que, effectivement, le vrai travail commence et que tout le monde ait confiance et l'espoir.
Everyone is hoping for success. The farmers want to look around, and they visit other South Africans who live 2 hours away from Sokoton. There are only a few tar-sealed roads in this area, and when it rains, the route is difficult to negotiate. Yet the landscape of Congo is beautiful and untouched. Trudy Fouche and her family came here 7 months ago. They decided to live in the bush, far away from Sokoton and far from the other farmers. A short time ago, this was jungle. They've levelled off the tracks. The fields have been prepared. They have no problems with the local population.
This is definitely my home now.
Why?
I love it here. It's so peaceful here. I think there's so much violence. We're so used to much violence in South Africa, and this is a very peaceful country. Very peaceful.
Wel, ek dink ek sal 'n bietjie 'n probleem hê want ek is nie regtig baie goed op skool nie, maar ek is 'n gemiddelde persoon en ek dink ek het skoolwerk baie nodig, maar ons sal een van die dae op rekenaars en so aan skool gaan, so dit is nie regtig 'n probleem nie eintlik nie.
Another South African couple have also done it. Sari Cronje visits both of them for the first time and can hardly believe what she sees. They've been here less than a year. 30 hectares of vegetable fields are planted. Chilies, tomatoes, onions, potatoes. All plants which are expensive in the Congo, bought mainly by foreigners. 8 locals take the produce to the market. Orders are even coming in from the capital. The Wolfart couple haven't had any problems with their workers. They accept they are dependent on each other. Louise Wolfart and her husband have no complaints about their new life in the Congo. The 57-year-old is selling her tomatoes for 6 times as much as she did in South Africa.
But I tell you what, you know, we think they're very, very kind people. And since the day we start here at Ledema, all the people have been very, very lovable. And I always said, I really must tell the Congolese people is beautiful people.
Their happy life here shows the newcomers that South Africans can be successful in the Congo when they change their attitude.
It's so beautiful, you know, it's such a wonderful country. And I think, you know, it's just a little time. And then you can...
Dis jou lesse wat jy meer gaan begin. Les nommer 9 tot les nommer 15.
Not everyone is so positive about their experience in the Congo.
I'm not willing to do it again on the same basis that we've done it when we came here.
Are you disappointed?
Yes, we're very disappointed with plenty of things. But at the long run, we couldn't say, all right, now that happened and that happened. We must make now the best of the worst.
Well, in the first place, we were promised, or we actually were not promised, we bought a farm and we paid for a house. Okay, we knew which houses that needed a bit of repair, but as it seems now, we got nothing. So that is a bit of a problem.
And who did that to you?
Well, the company that brought us here with the name of Sedefco. I mean, this was the guys that originally started this whole idea and the whole project. And up to now, they didn't produce anything.
According to information, they received about 5 million rands already. Also, which should have gone to gone to the farmers, but we didn't receive it. So, at the moment, we are a bit disappointed.
They are staying in Pretoria, and we are the people on the ground. We are the people who have the most difficulties with the local people.
But the South African Farmers Organisation deny that there has been foul play.
We didn't receive any money, so therefore we couldn't mismanage any funds. As to come back to that, what you have said, if a politician said that, we'd like to find out why he said it, because we definitely didn't receive any money from them, and where they had been confronted, individual Congolese in front of the farmers, they told the farmers and they told us that the farmers totally misunderstood them, and that's not what it had been meant.
Jean-Maire Desil could have given the newcomers a lot of tips. The Frenchman's lived here for 50 years. He's been a farmer here through colonial times, Marxism, and now the new capitalism. Until Congo's independence in 1965, it was known as the breadbasket of Africa. Agriculture was of prime importance, but it hasn't always been easy. Today, the country can't produce enough for its own needs. He thinks it needs whites to get back on its feet again. There have always been problems. Sometimes there's not enough feed for the cattle, then not enough for the pigs. There are still delivery problems. Even the free market has done little to change this. Now they are trying to grow their own feed in order to prevent problems like the 1989 drought when they lost 700 pigs. The 77-year-old, born in Algeria, has wondered how the arrival of the farmers will affect change.
Bon, elle voudrait prendre quelques photos des travailleurs. Elle peut aller voir les gens qui sont en atelier, qui sont au garage en fait. Lorsque nous avons appris que de nouveaux prétendants à mettre en valeur l'agriculture étaient en passe de débarquer au Congo, nous avons été très contents. Lorsqu'on les a vus arriver sans moyens, sans aucun moyen, on s'est inquiété. Et on ne voyait pas très bien par quel miracle ils auraient pu cultiver la terre sans aucun moyen. Ou alors, il aurait fallu qu'ils aient l'intention de venir habiter sous ces climats pour y vivre, simplement y passer du temps, mais sans penser aux problèmes que l'économie moderne exige. L'économie moderne exige, avant de trouver un bénéfice, exige de faire des dépenses.
Sari and Franz have decided they want to take a look at Pont Noir. They take the train from Nkai. It's a 7-hour trip through magnificent scenery. From the south, they cross through the rainforest, a new sight for Sari. They're hoping they'll have better luck in the port city. They want to leave Sokoton and the locals whom they don't get on with. Bandits frequently rob the trains between Brazzaville and Pont Noir, but this journey passes without incident. There are many stops in small villages, or when the locomotive overheats, but time is no problem. Arrival in Pont Noir. The city is Congo's business hub. Huge oil reserves attract foreigners here, but the domestic oil industry will be burdened by debt until at least 2004. The country only gets 17% of the profit from the oil, and the population certainly aren't profiting from this wealth. It's the big international oil companies like Elf, Shell and Ajip who reap the rewards. A South African from Sokoton has already arrived in the city by the sea. He stayed with other farmers in Sokoton for 4 months. He had wanted to work the land, but numerous problems made him leave. Now he's building wooden houses for hotels or individuals, with a lot of success.
It's just a matter of a little bit of isolation, and they don't know what's going on around them. That's all. That's the biggest thing I've seen. And that's what I realized when I came down to Congo. And I've met Pont Noir the first time. I couldn't believe my eyes that I'm in this land and I've been living in Kai for 4 months there. And you see something and you come down here and it's like a little paradise here. So actually the whole Congo is a paradise.
Cassie shows his countrymen around this paradise. Only a few people live on the numerous waterways in the Pont Noir area. The Congo's population is only 2.6 million, and most of them live in Brazzaville, the capital, or in Pont Noir. The country's interior is sparsely populated. Those who do live here are fishermen and their families. Without a boat, they'd be cut off from the outside world. The South Africans are curious and choose to visit the locals. They never would have thought of doing this in South Africa. Manioc leaves are stewing in the pot. It's easy to grow and is cooked alongside the plentiful fish. But regular work is harder to find around here.
La vie au Congo, un peu plus ou moins, mais c'est le chômage. À cause du boom pétrolier, jusqu'alors on attend, ça ne vient pas. Nous sommes obligés de vivre en plein brousse pour se débrouiller. C'est-à-dire, débrouiller, c'est quoi? Faire la chasse et la pêche.
Like many African countries, Congo suffers because too many people in power work only to line their own pockets. No one knows when this will change. The people have got used to injustice, but they hope that the opening up of the economy to market forces will help the profits to be more evenly distributed. This poultry farm near Pont Noir is an example of the state of the country. 500,000 chickens were raised here, but the business went bankrupt because the owner was taking money on the side. That's what the employees say. Nearly 50 factories in the Congo are standing empty. They could have been privatized, but there were no investors. Thieves would steal material for building if it wasn't for the voluntary former workers patrolling the site to protect what's left.
S'il y a une entreprise d'État qu'on donne à un preneur, veut dire qu'à un autre gestionnaire qui vient peut-être de la France, de l'Afrique du Sud, de l'Europe, n'importe quel pays qui connaît bien gérer, qui vient travailler pour exploiter, pour travailler, pour nourrir les Congolais, et lui aussi tire profit, nous serons contents. On va l'encadrer, parce que nous voulons travailler. Si l'entreprise prend 50 travailleurs, s'il prend moins 40 Congolais qui vont l'encadrer, mais ça va bien marcher, parce que nous voulons bien travailler, on a la volonté. On commence à vieillir, on n'a pas de travail. On va se retrouver comment? C'est la mort.
We're travelling along the coast looking for a piece of land. The South Africans have heard that a village wants to sell some land. It's 1.5 hours north of Pont Noir. The villagers want to deal directly with the foreigners. No one has a job here. To pass the time, they play cards. The villagers hope that if the foreigners come, they'll have a better life.
Oui, mais nous sommes très contents de vous recevoir, puisque ici, il y a plusieurs jeunes qui ne travaillent pas. Alors, quand on tombe sur l'occasion comme ça, nous sommes très contents de vous recevoir.
Je suis très content pour que vraiment les Blancs rentrent chez nous. Je suis très content.
The village chief's son shows the family around the plantation. 6,000 banana seedlings planted recently. Transport from here wouldn't be difficult. By truck to the harbour in Pont Noir doesn't take too long. The Congolese here are a lot friendlier, say the South Africans. They want to be here, even if there's no infrastructure, such as a water supply or electricity. Sari and Franz look over the property. It lies on the other side of the village. 100 hectares are for sale for 2.5 million rand. They want to scrape the money together with the help of the others. Franz wants to get the soil analysed to see if it's good for agriculture. He and his wife have only been in the Congo for a few weeks, but they think it's time to move again. Even though they could have the land for free in Sokoton, They don't want to stay in an area where they were rejected by the local population.
It's sandy soil, and I think it's perfect for groundnuts, potatoes, all vegetables, maize.
Have you decided now what you're going to do? You know, are you staying with the other farmers? Are you coming out here?
I'm definitely coming out here.
Why?
I think there's more potential here. Closer to your market. Might have smaller grounds, but it'll be much easier to get your harvest to the harbour or the place that you dispose of it.
Everyone's in favour of moving, if they can get the money together. The Cronjes have already got the plans from the village chief. There would be room for other farmers from South Africa. If the local population can work together with the South Africans, both parties could profit. If not, then the search for a new home will start all over again.